Hello everybody, this is Gruesome Fox coming at you with a 550 cost rated match in the buffed Super Gundam. We're going to be on Resource Satellite 4 this round here, and the Super Gundam was buffed as part of the May 2026 unit adjustments. This was a unit that I heard quite a lot of good things about when the adjustment initially came out, and then afterwards I began to see more debates about the Super Gundam here and how its adjustment was handled. Same case with the Ricdom 2 GH as well, the Raid Ricdom 2 that has the Buster Sword. That is another one that I saw quite a bit about, but the Super Gundam I believe is the one I saw more of first, and really just kind of more of in general about this unit. And it made me very curious to see how the Super Gundam was going to perform post-buff. This is one of those units that I really haven't used in quite a while, so I was like, oh, you know what? Super Gundam got a buff, people are saying it's really good, let's try taking it out and see how the unit performs. And before I get into the details about that and kind of what I think about the adjustments, we will, as usual, start off with going over what they changed about the unit. The Super Gundam is a support type mobile suit that is native to cost 550 and goes up to cost 700 at level 4, and taking a look at what they changed for the unit here, starting off with the unit specs. For your part slots, your close range slots will increase from 5 to 6, your mid-range slots will increase from 14 to 15, and your long-range slots will increase from 21 to 22, with upper levels for all of those also being enhanced. The unit skill, Release Range Output Limiter level 1, has been given. For the level 3 units, the skill Composite High Mobility Combat System level 1 has been given, and for the level 4 version of the unit, Composite High Mobility Combat System level 2 has been given, and for the level 3 and above, the unit skill Pursuit Range Aux Program level 1 has been given. Moving on to your main range weapon, the long rifle. The focus fire for this weapon has been shortened from 4 seconds to 2 seconds, and this weapon can now focus to a second charging stage. For normal firing, the power has been increased from 2,500 to 2,600, with upper levels also being enhanced. For your first stage of focus, the power has been increased, and for the second stage of focus, you can now fire a beam that deals continuous damage while irradiating the target. So basically with the second charge, you do get a gerobi beam, as you can see right there. For your sub-weapon, the multi-tube missile pod times 2, the power of this weapon has been increased from 300 to 325, with upper levels also being enhanced, and the weapon switching time has been shortened. And finally, you do get a new sub-weapon in the form of the Long Rifle Rapid. This is a new sub-weapon for the Super Gundam where your long rifle is able to fire a 2-round burst before it needs to, cool down for a bit and you can fire again. And that is everything we have here for the adjustment for the Super Gundam. So before I go into the more debated areas of the Super Gundam's adjustments, I will start off with the Long Rifle Rapid and the Multi-Suit Missile Pod. The Missile Pod I don't really have a whole lot to say about. It's a pretty small buff that got, but, more damage and less switching time, both really nice things for that to have. And I really like the Long Rifle Rapid. I think that was a really nice addition for the Super Gundam. Really just kind of having something you can use in between your other weapons to dish out some more damage. The only thing with the Long Rifle Rapid is that even though it is called Rapid because you get the 2-round burst, I believe if you immediately try to fire after your first 2-round burst, it will overheat, so you can't really be rapid fire with it. You do need to let it cool down a bit before you fire again, or else you risk overheating the weapon. But that aside, I think that is, pretty fair trade-off for what it is for how much damage the Super Gundam is able to accomplish. I think kind of having it with those drawbacks is pretty nice, and again, it does give you a nice thing to use in between your other weapons. So Long Rifle Rapid I do really like. Again, I think that was a pretty nice addition to the mobile suits. The big point of contention here seems to stem from the long rifle from most of what I heard, and from my own experience too, both playing the Super Gundam and fighting against it. Yeah, I think for the long rifle, I believe they may have honestly done a little bit too much with this weapon. The biggest issue really being the second charge that they gave it, the second focus state. With your first focus state, you do get a heavy stagger with the, stun that you get with it, but with the second charge, you do get that very powerful gerobi beam. And when I mean powerful, I mean the gerobi on the Super Gundam is actually kind of insane. During my last Saturday stream, when I made my return after not streaming for a while, the Super Gundam was brought up during stream chat, and I took it into free practice to kind of get a better look at the damage that it could do. And at 550, with my build that I'm using, I believe in this video, it should be the same build, against the GPO-1 in free practice, when I was crouched and scoped in, I could one-shot the GPO-1 with the gerobi beam, and you know, that's against a general that has like no defense parts or anything. It's just a stock GPO-1. But even against like, you know, fighting against other players who do have builds on their mobile suits, you know, I assume they have builds on their mobile suits. I don't know if anybody runs their mobile suits with like no parts whatsoever. But for what I'm assuming are mobile suits that have like defense parts added to them, you know, you have like enhancements from doing the hanger and things like that. I am still able to like pretty much take most of the HP away from a general. I've also experienced that myself when I'm fighting against the Super Gundam, where if I get caught in the gerobi beam and the full gerobi hits me, I'm going to be missing like a lot of health by the time it's done. And perhaps the craziest part of it is that when you use the gerobi beam, for how much damage you are able to dish out with it, it does not overheat your beam rifle. You are still able to get like one more round, either you do uncharged or you start charging another round. You still have a bit of energy left in the weapon, so you can, you know, quickly follow up on, you know, really finishing someone off. Again, if you hit a general and you take off most of their HP, it's pretty easy to hit them with a, you know, just simple normal fire from the beam rifle, because the gerobi beam is able to heavy stagger. So yeah, it's very easy for the Super Gundam to completely just obliterate a general or leave them at pretty much like no health. And it can be especially bad if a team has two Super Gundams and like nobody is dealing with them. Just having a team that has two buff Super Gundams and they're left to kind of do their own thing can be really devastating. I had a match like that on Impact Site where there were two Super Gundams, and the whole time I'm just like, I think I was in the RS Jar Jar, and I'm like, oh my goodness, we need to do something about these Super Gundams, so they're gonna completely wipe the floor with us. So yeah, I think the Super Gundam buff did have a lot of good things that did benefit the unit, and I do understand why they buffed this unit the way they did. Its damage was below the support average, so it doing more damage is not necessarily an issue. But I do think what they did with the second charge with the gerobi beam was definitely a bit much for this mobile suit. If they wanted to keep the gerobi the way it is now, like doing as much damage as it does, I do think it should definitely overheat the beam rifle completely if you do a second charge, and it should leave it to the long rifle rapid to kind of be the finisher weapon if somebody is low health. I think that would be, you know, a lot more fair to deal with, because that does mean that you have to switch your weapon instead of just being able to instantly fire a normal round from the beam rifle again. So I think that would be a lot more fair for it, but real quick, let's take a look at the end results for this round here. Did get top assist, and second place with 3 kills and 1 loss. Did get, looks like, second in damage. So yeah, pretty good results with the Super Gundam there. And again, to kind of just close off what I was saying, yeah, I do think the second charge gerobi on the long rifle is a bit much. Everything else about the adjustment I think is pretty much fine. And I know I'm saying this at the end of the video, I should have probably stated this earlier, but I don't think the Super Gundam is suddenly this unbeatable beast. I don't want this video to come out like, oh, this suit is like super OP now. I don't think that's necessarily the case with the Super Gundam. There are instances where it can be really strong, a bit too strong, but there are also instances where it can be pretty easy to deal with. You know, if you are able to get close enough to it, or your raids are able to focus on it, it is a lot easier to deal with. But it's really just if a Super Gundam is left to its own devices, and as I also mentioned, especially if there's 2 of them on a team, it can get really rough really fast. So I'm going to be curious to see what the data says after this adjustment, kind of what's collected on the buff Super Gundam, see how the damage and everything else is, and yeah, I really want to keep an eye on that, see how the performance is going to be in the post-buff reference data. But that's everything I have for this video here. Comment down below what you think about the buffed Super Gundam. Remember to like and subscribe if you enjoyed the video, and with that, I will see you all in the next one. Later.